June 6, 1944. What if I told you there was a mission so dark, so disturbing, that even the men who lived through it begged to forget it, and history itself tried to erase it? Beneath the thunder of artillery and the chaos of D-Day, as waves of soldiers crashed into the fortified beaches of Normandy, a classified operation unfolded. One so secret it wasn't listed on any Allied document. It was known only as Operation Silence. Officially, it never existed. Unofficially, it was hell on earth. At 300 hours, before the first assault boats reached the shore, a small 12-man unit was dropped inland near a dense patch of French woodland east of Omaha Beach. Their mission: intercept a German transmission believed to be coordinating counterattacks. But the coordinates they were given led not to a bunker or radio tower. It led to an abandoned village that didn't appear on any French map. The mist hung heavy. The air smelled of iron and rot, and every step echoed as if the earth itself was hollow beneath them. When they entered the village square, the silence was suffocating. No animals, no people. Just the faint creak of a church bell swaying in the wind, though the rope was severed. Sergeant David Heller, who led the mission, later wrote fragments of what happened in a blood-stained notebook recovered weeks later. According to his account, the team split into two groups. One searched the houses, where tables were still set for dinner, candles melted down to wax puddles, while the other investigated the church. Inside, they found helmets arranged in a circle on the altar, American, British, and German, each with a bullet hole through the skull beneath it. There was no sign of struggle, no shell casings, just death lined up neatly, as if for a ritual. When Private Colin Moore picked up one of the helmets, the bells above began ringing wildly, echoing through the valley, though the tower's rope was still hanging limp. The team fired at the bell tower in panic, but the ringing only grew louder, almost mechanical, like metal grinding against metal. The ground beneath them began to tremble. In the catacombs below the church, they discovered walls covered in strange markings, not German, not Latin, written in dried blood. The deeper they went, the colder it became, until their breath turned white in the air. They found dozens of bodies seated upright along the walls, dressed in old German uniforms, eyes wide open but clouded white like glass. Their mouths were filled with sand, and in their hands they clutched rosaries made of teeth. Then the radio operator, Corporal Jennings, screamed that his headset was picking up a voice. Not in German or English, but something else. A low, guttural tone repeating a pattern that made his nose bleed. Seconds later, every man's compass began spinning uncontrollably. The lights flickered, and then, nothing. When contact was lost, command assumed the team was captured. 2 days later, a rescue unit was sent to locate them. The village was still there, but now everything was blackened, as if scorched from within. No bodies were ever found, only weapons laid neatly at the church door, magazines still full. The journal was discovered lodged between two stones under the altar, its final page reading, "They're not dead, they're waiting." Witnesses from nearby farms swore they saw flashes of blue light above the trees that night and heard screams that didn't sound human, more like metal scraping inside a hollow body. After the war, all references to Operation Silence vanished. The coordinates were redacted from every military record, and the few surviving officers who had authorized the mission either died suddenly or went missing. In 1953, declassified fragments hinted at a possible sound weapon experiment gone wrong, a psychological warfare test using subsonic frequencies to shatter enemy morale. But those who studied the evidence said the frequencies described were far beyond what human technology could produce in 1944. Could the soldiers have triggered something they weren't meant to find? Something buried long before the war even began. By 1947, the entire incident was erased from Allied archives. The French government sealed off the area, citing unexploded ordnance, though locals whispered that anyone who ventured near the ruins after dark never returned. Some veterans who fought nearby later reported hearing distant church bells at night, though the village's bell tower had collapsed decades ago. Others said they dreamt of soldiers standing in the mist, uniforms half-burned, mouths full of sand, whispering words no one could understand. So what truly happened during Operation Silence? Was it a classified mission lost to chaos, or did those 12 men uncover something the world was never meant to see? Even today, historians argue whether it was real or a ghost story crafted to frighten recruits. But one thing is certain, the war is filled with stories that defy reason, moments where reality and nightmare blur into one. And maybe, just maybe, this was one of them. Because if you ever find yourself walking the quiet fields east of Omaha Beach on a foggy morning and you hear a faint bell tolling in the distance, don't follow it. Some echoes aren't meant for human ears.